I think he wants to make an announcement.
Oh, about something.
All right, ladies
We will
and
decide.
gentlemen, this is the special meeting of the City of Ojai Arts Commission, January 23rd. And we will proceed, starting off with the roll call, if you would, please, Mr. Fiss.
Chair Addison,
Here.
Vice Chair Kosher,
Here.
Commissioner Chisholm,
Present.
Commissioner Harmon, Commissioner Golden,
Here.
Commissioner Zarger,
Here.
Commissioner Golden. Here.
Okay, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think someone from another continent should lead the pledge this time. So Sammy, would you lead the pledge, please?
To prove her loyalty?
I don't know. That's a formula.
Okay. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll move on to public comment, and I believe we have one member of the public who wishes to address us.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Leonard Clafe. I am here in my capacity as president of the board of the Ojai Art Center. As I always do when I speak here, I want to acknowledge that my wife is Linda Harmon, who is a member of this commission. Wanted to tell you about tomorrow evening is opening night for Shirley Valentine, which is the first show of our 2020 season. It features Anna Catula in a one-woman performance. I don't know if all of you have ever seen Anna before, but she did a one-woman show, The Belle of Amherst, based on the life of Emily Dickinson, which was fabulous. She played Harpo Marx in the Marx Brothers show we did a couple of years ago. She was Harpo. She is a fabulous actress. I saw the movie version of Shirley Valentine, I don't know, 30 years ago, and it's delightful, and I am sure that Anna will do a splendid job. And it runs for 4 weeks, Friday night, Saturday nights at 7:30, Sundays at 2. You can go to the Ojai Art Center website to find out more information, to get tickets and whatnot, and check out season tickets. We're going to have a really fun season this year. You can get all the information at our website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny.
And please give Linda our best wishes to recover.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. We have some consent items. We have the minutes of the November 21st and the December 4th meeting. Anybody have any comments or emendations or corrections to be made to those two
Well, hang on.
sets of minutes, which were in your packet, and you, of course, had ample time to review them before the meeting? Was that snarky? I guess that was snarky. Okay, well, I'm open to a motion to accept the consent
So
items.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the two sets of minutes as consent items?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Very well, we will move on. Are there any disclosures to be made of site visits or ex parte contacts for items on the agenda?
Linda Harmon and I visited a few artists for consideration for shows at City Gallery.
Thank you.
Is there a list of those people that are coming up for the next year?
I'll
for
go
City
over
Gallery?
that. I have them,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on. The first item on the agenda is something that we've talked about, but I thought it was time to formalize it and include it on the agenda, and that is to have a brief discussion, as we have several relatively new and completely new members, of ideas for the future. And one thing I would point to, just to kick it off, is that we, I think, successfully created a book on architecture in Ojai, and I think would be appropriate for the commission to perhaps begin to develop ideas and put together the people perhaps who could generate a project for another book, the second in a series, if you will. So with that, let me go around the table and see if any of you have anything that you do wish to bring to the table here to be placed on future agendas. I think that's really what we're doing. How about you, Nigel?
Right, should I be turning on my microphone?
Yes, you should.
Yeah, so at this point, music obviously has been a large part of my life and what I've brought to this community. And so over the next couple of years, I would absolutely like to investigate starting some sort of music festival in town that involves all of the businesses in town as much as possible, and putting it out to a wider audience, not just within this community, but in Ventura, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and points north, south, east, and west of that. As moving forward, I've already had initial conversations with various people who are involved in the industry for their ideas, and so at this point I'm gaining information, and when I have enough information to share, I will certainly do that, and when I do, it will include a structure and also a cost plan and a general idea of how we can go about funding this so that it doesn't cost the city anything at all, that it will be self-supporting and it will benefit the city, it will benefit the community, it will benefit the businesses downtown and in the wider area as well. So that would be something that I'm looking forward to do over the next couple of years.
Excellent, thank you.
I have a question. Would this be
Questions?
like genre specific or across the board? With
No,
music of all sorts?
we're a very small community, Sammy, and
Yeah.
and so it's not reasonable to want to bring bands or aggressive music into town, particularly.
Okay.
So my idea at this point, and it's a very sketch idea, and it's not a thought-out idea as much as as just a general idea, is to involve as many locations in town as possible. In which case, it would probably need to be singer-songwriters, duos,
Yeah.
or acoustic trios. Bands, possibly, if we can utilize Libby Park in some way, or Libby Bowl in some way, as an opening and a closing. But the idea would be to bring people into town and to drive music through the businesses to enhance the value of the environment and also to enhance the value of the businesses at the same time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great.
Love it.
Any other comments or questions about that? Okay, Marcy, is there anything on
That's
your
an
mind?
exciting project, Nigel.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
getting
That's good.
into the roots of that one and seeing how we can actually drive, South by Southwest. Clearly we can't do anything like that. We're a very small community. We have other interests that we have to be careful of with regards to traffic flow and this, that, and the other. But I think we can absolutely do something that elevates our community above.
So we're known for a
What's
certain
normal?
thing, like maybe it could be, I'm just throwing an idea out there, like an Americana festival. Something.
That is a loaded
Narrow.
phrase. But if you're talking about it's when you say Americana, I think a lot more than just music. It doesn't have to be just music, but that would be my focus on it because that's where my passion is and that's where my expertise is. But it could certainly flow out into other arenas and other areas that would support that underneath as well. But I think oftentimes the problem with ideas, and it's a big idea, is that they get too big. And so you focus on the smaller part of it and getting that under control first, wrangling that, and then moving on from there. So I see it as a project taking 5 to 7 or 8 years. And my goal would be to get it going within 18 months initially, and then just to drive it forward from there. And it should be self-sustaining thereafter,
Yeah.
with an idea of it becoming a place where people want to come and
Right.
play.
Mhm.
Plant the seed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's where I'll have my focus for the next year or so, while also focusing on the rest of the stuff too. But that's what I want to drive forward if possible.
Good.
Um,
Marcy, what about you? Anything
well, I
is
would
on
kind
your
of,
mind?
yeah. I think that, being involved with the public art and just different things relating to public art and city gallery and having new members of the commission, I thought that we should have, as an arts commission, some kind of a little mini retreat where we could be instructed as to the nuts and bolts of the public art ordinance and other ordinances, art-related ordinances that we're subject to, and kind of be an orientation for all the new members, and maybe we could do whatever else, but I'd like to kind of do that, something like that, maybe off-site, but have it announced so that any members of the public that want to come watch what we do, but kind of have a kind of more of an informal thing, though, to kick ideas around and to do some training and learning. And anyway, I just thought that's something that we could address and maybe kick around some dates and
I think
kind of
that's-
work that out.
I think that's beautiful. I'm just wondering, how does the Brown Act work with that? Because we would be still commissioners meeting
Right.
and talking about a particular subject.
Joe will
So
address that,
yeah.
how we could do that.
It's not a problem. It just has to
Okay.
be noticed.
Noticed,
Noticed
okay,
as a
right.
meeting.
So transparency is it.
Transparency. Exactly.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So if Marcy wanted to have it at her house, or Michael wanted to have it at his house.
As long
we
as you
just have
notice
to-
it.
We just notice at the house.
Yep.
Correct, and it would be open to whoever
And it's
wanted to
open to whoever
observe,
in the
Yeah.
public wants to come.
observe
Right.
those meetings.
I'll just
It's
stick my,
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
we've done that on occasion.
Anyway.
All right, Christine,
Um,
good idea.
Well, I just want
Good
to comment, I
idea.
just love this idea of a music festival. And I think that you're the guy that could figure out all the myriad number of steps. And you could count me in to help work on that. I think that's very exciting,
Fantastic. Thanks very much.
yeah. And I second what Marcy said. I thought for a long time with so many new members that a efficient review of the public art ordinance, which you so often have to vote on it, that to know what it says would make a whole lot of sense. And it's something that James and I talked about doing. Of course, James is now city manager. So it'd be Joe and I that would talk about doing something like that. So here, thank you
Yeah.
for remembering that, Marcy.
Good idea.
Absolutely.
Sammy, how about you?
Well, I love this idea of, getting us all schooled and properly informed about the nuts and bolts of what it is that we do, rather than scrambling before every meeting to get it done. I love that idea. I think that's
Great.
really terrific. I'm very much behind that.
There will be wine.
Oh, really? Oh, because, well, I was going to come anyway, but now. And this is a wonderful idea. This is a terrific idea. It strikes me as kind of like a, the Hay Festival. It's a big literary festival in Britain. I definitely think that Ojai has the scope and the imagination and the appetite for that sort of festival. I really do. I think this is an amazing town, and we have amazing resources and a lot of goodwill, and I think that that's a terrific idea.
And there will also be wine.
Oh no. I'm out. Yeah.
Andy, what about you?
Well, I had three things on my mind. One is that on the website, which we're going to talk about in a minute, I added a feature where I could start tracking the website traffic and that kind of stuff, which wasn't there before, and things like that. Oh, thank you. But then I would love the website to be seen as a real resource. I would say it's not really being used right now. That's the fact. So
Yeah.
anyway, dedicating some time to that, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So that's one thing. The second thing is that I ended up doing this at Oak Grove for a small class, but that is graphic design. So having interns for my foundation, but teaching small classes of graphic design, but it requires some funding, typically things like you buy subscriptions to the Adobe Creative Cloud. So that's like $50 a month where you get Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and so on. But teaching either web design or graphic design, it seems to me that I would love to see us partner with the school, especially Nordhoff. And we've already begun to work with what they call the community classroom. So we're teaching classes already. So I've done music, but I haven't done graphic design because it's grade school. So, but I would love to do graphic design with those students. So that's another idea, is incorporating that field. And then the third is what I do at Agora is half of our seminars are about literature. And so we have these series, which I know some of you get those emails, but right now we're doing this series called The Story Within the Story. So we're reading the Decameron, Canterbury Tales, and then Arabian Nights, in 3 one-day sessions. And I was thinking more broadly that we could have an entire literary kind of unfolding where you really study literature sort of in depth in small groups and that kind of stuff. And anyway, I would love to see Agora and the city partner in that, or whatever, however it works out, but just to say,
Mm-hmm.
that group of like 15 to 20 people spending a day on a work is really wonderful. So those were the three things I was thinking about.
Well, that seems a natural, again, in terms of
Yeah.
your background and your experience making that happen. And I think that's the great strength of what we talked about, these two projects at the two ends of the table, if you will, one in literary terms and the other in musical terms. You both would bring so much to that, that I think that would, I'm sensing that would get very strong support from the commission. And I think what Nigel suggested is really important, is that it be carefully thought through and a several-year plan be outlined in terms of how it would develop, in terms of cost and structure and et cetera, so neither one is, as both of you know, I'm sure, is to be leapt into. But I think with careful planning, those could be very strong additions to what the Art Commission does. So I think future agendas,
Yeah.
we've got some meaty stuff to think about.
There was one more thing that I'd like to add. And it was
Yes,
what
please.
What we spoke about, we had some meetings, and we spoke about the possibility of putting an art about town, like literature about town, incidental literature, sort of at bus stops, and, Emily Dickinson at a bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who are
Advocate.
sitting there, just sitting there, right? I mean, it's not going to subtract, it's going to add, and I looked into I spoke to somebody from the city about putting poetry on the side of the trolleys, and it's pretty expensive. It's frighteningly expensive. But if there is a way, would that qualify for public art? No, it wouldn't. Okay. I just good to know. Yeah.
But could you attach a chalkboard to the side of one of those things?
It's advertising space, so they would
They're selling that
charge for
space.
it. Yeah.
Find a space that they're not advertising.
Yeah, but I just like the idea of a movable
Yeah.
art thing it's iconically Ojai, right? It's the trolley, and stick some poetry on that.
Or even if it's
I mean-
not that particular, like think of what's in front of Porch Gallery or that chalkboard, or the
Yes.
peace bowls that
Yes.
Brian brought up here.
Or
I
Love
think there's a
Heals,
lot
the
of
chalkboard,
Yeah.
Right.
front of Love Heals.
Okay. I'm saying there's lots of opportunities. Even if it's not the trolley, it's
Right.
there's all kinds of things we could possibly do.
Yeah. Just incidental
Yeah.
art.
Well,
Definitely
again,
incorporate
concrete
that.
ideas and a concrete plan is
Is
the
the-
next step, obviously.
next
But I
step,
think
yes.
this is definitely worth consideration again as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's move on then, if everybody's comfortable with that, to the Arts Grant Committee, the second item on our agenda. And Marcy, this is your item.
I have one item that we need to vote on. All of the grant recipients have received their checks except for the non-permanent mural for the Chaparral property. We approved that grant, and we mistakenly believed at the time that it would be somehow subject to a non-existent or to-be-determined mural ordinance, which is not near completion, or it's not on the books. It's not going to be for a long time. And these artists need to get going on this project. So the check needs to be issued to the group that we approved. And so I'm asking all of you, I'm asking for a motion to authorize the city to release the funds for that particular arts project, which we all were very enthusiastically supportive of when we went through all of the grants.
So move.
Second,
Aye.
discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fabulous.
Okay, done.
Did we skip 6A? Are we on to did we just discuss 6B?
We just did B1.
Okay. But I think we didn't talk about 6A1.
No,
Oh, no, we
you're
didn't.
right, we didn't.
Right.
Let's go back to that.
website,
Thank
good,
you.
yeah. Yes.
What?
Okay.
Let's go back to that. It's A1, which is the website and
No
the
worries.
criteria for calendar listings. I'm sorry, my apologies.
Not at all.
just
I don't
skimmed
feel
over it.
slighted or
Okay.
overlooked in any way.
Good.
Better not,
No
because
hard
you're the
feelings this
genius.
early in the
Thank
meeting,
you.
please.
Not at all.
All right, fire away, Andy. You're the
Here-
one
no,
who
here's-
wanted to
no, here's the
discuss
question.
this.
So I basically looked through all the art calendar listings on that you have sent me, that Linda sent me, that was also on the Ojai Hub, or that I could just find, and that would be what's in the galleries and the Ojai Museum and so on. So I put all of that in on the website, and it's all there. But then when I started looking through things, I realized that there seems to be an inconsistent, and probably there isn't a rule about what to include. Let me give you some examples. The ukulele club from the library is on there. The chamber music concert from the Chamber on the Mountain is there. Things like that. But then you might ask, well, should we include, like Beauty and the Beast? Is there Beauty and the Beast Jr. from Oh Yes? We should include probably all the things, the plays from the Ojai Art Center. But then music came up as an interesting question, which is, do you want to include everything that's at the Vine, the Deer Lodge, or not? And so you're probably talking about something on the order of like 1 hour a week extra, let's say, to do that. But I do that for the Ojai Hub already, so it's not that big of a deal. But the question is, I want to come to you all is, what do you want to see on this site? And let me just give you one piece of little background. Since I installed the kind of tracking, we're getting, so far, the high is 28 visits a day. Now, what I want to do is see, we'll see that grow. As the more things that are on there and the more valuable it becomes, we'll just see that increase. But anyway, what do you want to see on the site? What kind of calendar listings?
Let me ask a question.
Uh-huh.
How many hits a day does the Ojai Hub get?
That list has 1,300 email addresses at about a 40% open rate. So it's every Thursday when it goes out, that's what generates most. So you could see the spikes on that traffic is basically Thursday afternoon, Friday morning.
So what if, instead of you're spending an enormous amount of extra time listing all of these events on the website had a big sort of bullet that said, for current information on music, go to, and then list the hub address.
You could.
So that we can feed into that. I mean, there's no point in duplicating, it seems
Yeah.
to me.
I
And
agree.
if the hub has really already got that substantial base, let's build on that.
I
could do that.
agree.
It's a great idea.
And then maybe they could link to us for certain
Oh,
things
sure.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I can make that all work. What I would probably do is the art events are easy. They signify out. The music events, for example, if it's at, sorry to waste your time. I can split it all out so you could either click on music, art,
Right.
that kind of thing. And just have all music be there.
That would be terrific.
Amazing.
Okay.
That would
Yeah.
be really wonderful.
Okay.
So the issue, Andy, is specifically with music,
Yeah.
is how to get the locations to contact you to give them their list, right?
Well,
Because otherwise you're going to end up with an incomplete list, a very incomplete list.
No, here's this. You're bringing up an excellent point. So there's a whole group of people that I'll just use the hub as an example. They fill in the online form for the hub, so then I have all those every week. But then other people don't do that, but I seek them out. So if their website is very complete, that's really easy. But if they elect not to post them on their website, but then the bands do it like in Facebook, I have to seek it out. So that's hit or miss. Like if I find them, great. If I don't find them, they're not there.
So
Yeah.
did you go to the Vine webpage, for example? Because I posted religiously every day, but I never went to Ojai Hub, so I don't even know if that stuff was on there.
Right. So, like, if you go to Ojai Hub, you'll see, like, on the Vine, a lot of the repeating events are there. But then it's the Facebook posting, when people post on Facebook, like the Tossers, for example, those are the ones that come up most prevalently. So it would be, if you just emailed admin@Ojai Hub, the whole listing, it would all go there.
Right, so the key to that,
Yeah.
with regard to music only, because that's all I know
Get your
about.
mic a little closer to you so that.
The key to that is to get the venue owners to contact you once a week to get them on a schedule.
Yeah,
And it doesn't cost them anything to do that, right?
No.
Just 5 minutes of their time.
exactly.
Okay.
And especially if they get in a kind of a routine, like, for example, Ojai Underground, they have this routine, like every Tuesday or whatever, I get it, which is great. So yeah.
All right. So if you need help
Yeah.
with that, I'm absolutely able to help
Okay.
you.
No, thank
make
you.
that happen.
That's great. I think the one that I'm probably missing the most is yours.
We can take care of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right?
That's great.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
Andy.
Sure.
Will you still be highlighting things like what happened tonight? Things that are very specific?
Could be a completely different question.
I know, but that will happen?
Let me say it a different way. I have no idea if there's an email list that you guys maintain or not. I don't know if that's true. I haven't seen it. But the idea would be, how do you promote the opening here? So it was on Ojai Hub, but there's a lot on Ojai Hub, right? So it'd be easy to miss. So if you said, well, I really want to promote this kind of event, obviously you could pay Brett to do that if you want to do that. I don't care if you do it or not. But if we were going to do it, I would say we should start collecting, like on our website, you've probably seen other websites that collect an email to say, join our subscriber list or something like that. We should do that.
So just to speak to that a little bit,
Yeah.
there was an article went to the OVN about
Yeah.
Nancy's opening,
Mhm.
and I put it on the Facebook page, and I
Mhm.
bumped it, so I
Mhm.
promoted it, and we got 188 engagements,
Mhm.
and a lot of views,
Yeah.
and 180 something comments or something, or 180 likes or whatever.
From what happened tonight?
For what happened tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, it needs to be broader than that, I understand, because that's just a like, and it needs
Yeah.
to be broader, but I'm not sure how to do that, so that's why
That's
I'm
part.
so
So
excited that you were here.
no,
Like,
part of what you're doing is right, and the other part would be you would email your list, and the other part would be, I mean, it depends on how big you want it to be. I mean, we can debate about how big the paper is or the Ojai Monthly or whatever, but those would be other things that you would say, what kind of budget do we want to do to encourage events?
So this is actually a job, right? This is what people miss. It's actually a job
It's a
somebody
job.
has
Yeah.
to do.
It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
full-time
And
job, but it's a
it
job.
is a job that
Yeah.
takes a lot of hours to do. And so I think there's a lot of different environments for people to go and find
Yeah.
information out about what's happening in Ojai.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it seems to me that the conversation should revolve around reducing those or driving them into a single place
I agree.
for
Well,
everything.
that's why I suggested
Right.
the hub as the target.
Whether it's the hub or not, my interest actually in the hub was just that very purpose, was that the person who created the hub moved away, and which was Kayla. And so my thought was that was the best thing I had seen in a while that had most things in one place. Not everything, not perfect, but
We took it over,
I
guess.
book events all the time, so I'm always looking to see what do I want to conflict with or not. So
it's really important,
my interest is very much in that, and it could be the hub or not, whatever. But yeah, funneling into one place would save a lot of effort, whatever that is.
So it sounds like then it's City Gallery that would work with you on how much advertising they want when we have an opening here, or when we give Lifetime Achievement in the Arts.
Sure.
Or the Hope Fraser Award, or something that we're putting on,
Or,
staging.
I mean,
That committee would reach out to you at that point. Is that
well, I
right?
guess.
And
Well,
would
go
there
ahead,
be
please.
a budget for that? Pardon me, sorry.
Yeah,
Would there
we're
be
paying
a
for
budget for
that.
that? Because, I mean, to boost things,
What would,
what
what would the expenditures be?
it would quite small. I mean, online to simply boost a Facebook post is nothing. It's
They
$15
charge
or
you to
something.
Put
Well,
something
you,
on
you could
Facebook?
no,
Yeah.
no, no. You could boost
Well,
your post if
can
you want, but
boost
you
your
need
post.
Huh?
You can boost your post to make it hit more eyeballs.
And that costs money?
Yes, a little bit, but
Oh,
not
really?
much.
I
Not
didn't know
much
that.
at all.
What do you know?
So-
not. But you could spend only as much as you want, so that's the
Exactly.
beauty of it.
But for a sort of advertising budget, it would, the paper, it's not straight up pay for play. It's not, but it's sort of is.
Yeah.
It's
Well, the OVN will publish anything we put on because it's city business free of
Mhm.
charge, because I talked to Bob Daddy
No,
about
that's
that.
great.
yes,
And
that's
that's
right.
great.
You did.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's right. You did.
Um,
Yeah.
And that's one thing we
But
should always do.
Facebook, to pump stuff up, you have to pay. Don't you guys have a budget? Did you not ask for a budget this year?
Yes, there's a PR budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So that would be an
But
example.
if you're thinking of expanding that, it's just it would
So-
just be good to know
I
what
guess
the
what I'm-
budget was, or
It sounds to me as though Sammy and Andy
Yeah.
have a real handle on this whole area.
We could do it.
And if the two of you could get together and
We could-
brainstorm further on this subject,
We can get
then
it done.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you
We
could
can
come
get it
back
done.
with a plan.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think Christine is very right in pointing out that we do have to highlight Art Commission-specific events
For sure.
of the type that
I
she
totally agree.
described. I think that's different from
Mm-hmm.
just our trying to support the arts in general and disseminating information.
I agree.
So if we could have those two categories, and,
Right, yeah.
It's really the way that I think about it is, and if I could show you on the screen, I would. But basically, you come up with a plan and you say, you kind of hit all of the above. So you say, okay, you're going to have an opening here tonight. You have the Facebook post. You do the email blast. It's in the paper. You have flyers in town, and you hit all those things, and they don't all cost money, but they're all labor,
right.
right? So you come up with a plan where you try to cannibalize on your effort, right? So you're not recreating the wheel every time you're
Right.
using the same text and images and all that. But
So here's what I know, is that every single day of my life for the past 6 years, I posted in 8 different places.
yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
so it would benefit everybody in town, including the business owners, if there was a single resource to
Yeah.
go to,
Yeah.
where everybody was driven toward.
Our council representative is with us, Randy Haney, and I believe you have something you want to add to the
No,
discussion?
not add at this point, but I just need to clarify and understand. Is this an Arts Commission website sanctioned by the city?
The one I'm talking about, yes, it's underneath the city. It's the website is called artsojai.org, and it was set up by the city, I believe. Tell me
Yes.
if I'm wrong.
It
So-
is,
So I'm
yeah.
just saying, so it's ours.
Yeah,
Well,
We said, I just,
we're
without
talking about
elaborating.
something bigger.
Right, so I'm just saying, so it seems to me that the discussion should be centered on art activities that are under your purview and are related to this commission. What I'm hearing is a joint venture. What's the word I'm looking for? But a joint venture in communicating all of these additional needs in the community along with ours. And I'm not sure if that's a conflict of our money or not. So to me, personally, I'm sitting back here saying, if it's not related to the Arts Commission and your purview, I might struggle with that. But I'm willing to listen, and that's what I'm doing. So I don't know who created the website. I don't know who's paying for the website. But if it's city, then it has to be, again, under your purview, and it's got to be under the direction of this staff and under the events that come through this commission.
At the same time, I think our understanding as members of this commission has been that it is our responsibility to do all we can to serve and enhance the arts in Ojai. And I think what we're talking about is precisely that. There's a very positive feedback loop, I think, if we can successfully do what we're talking about in generating arts activity, which in turn then enhances the quality of art and the quality of life here in Ojai, and even in commercial terms, draws people to Ojai, as would be the case with the music festival, and in that way brings revenue into the community, if you will, through hotel tax and such. So I think this would be a subject that we could discuss and debate, but I think the commission has a pretty clear sense that we have a broader responsibility than just the events that we generate and create as
Like I said, I'm
arts
willing to
events.
listen
Might I-
to this.
Might I add something to that? I mean, as far as in terms of spending any public money, that would be totally for Arts Commission events such as tonight. Anything else, no promotion of any other commercial things would spend the public purse. That's
Right.
I think that's a given for most of us here. I think we understand that. So on that account, there's no need to worry. But absolutely, what Chair Addison says is there's a wider missive here that we are.
And I believe that's in the ordinance that established the Arts Commission as one of our mission statements. What part of our mission is to enhance and to expand and to support arts and the cultural interests all across Ojai.
I think Sammy said what the crux of the matter is, which is money expenditure, and just a little history, that we were always cautioned in the past that we cannot spend money on things that are not directly Arts Commission events and so on and so forth. That was very strongly put out by past liaisons from staff. So Sammy said it perfectly, that when it comes to the purse, that's this, but that doesn't stop us from voluntarily advertising all sorts of other activities, and we've
So-
always done that, and we
And
should.
I would not disagree with that. Like I said, my concern is
Advertising?
is fiscally. So all I'm trying to say is, I heard the word labor, and every time in my business, when I hear labor, the other side of labor is paying for labor.
Yeah.
Unless you're a volunteer.
Unless you're a volunteer on a
We are
commission, none of us
volunteers.
So
are
that's what I'm
paid.
trying to say.
Volunteers.
is- So not having a full understanding of the conversation, I'm sitting back trying to comprehend what's going on here. So my bits and pieces are, we just need to be clear
Yeah,
Yeah.
on whose money you have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and how you spend it
Yeah.
and how you account for it.
I think we're very
Absolutely.
clear on
I
that.
think
So
we're clear
that
about that,
was
yeah.
the only thing that was my only concern there. Plus, I didn't know who created the site, who manages the site. I would think if we created it, the city staff would be managing it by you handing it over to staff saying, we would like this posted, this posted, this posted.
That's how it's always worked in the past.
That's not the way it works now.
Yeah, I think
That's how it did work.
the conversation, as I understood it, was revolving around a very simple concept, which is driving more people to the website to get the information, and that expanded from there to find a place, the hub, as it turns out, what we're talking about now, as a central repository for all information. And so, as I understood it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the city website would have information, but also a link on it that would drive you to the hub, where that information would also be available at no additional cost. But then from the hub, the further conversation was to attract everybody else to put their information there as well, and to limit the amount of other
Alls I do
options
know-
available.
alls
Then
I
there's
do
no
know is
cost
that
involved in
The hub
that.
already has a link to our city's website.
No, of course it is.
Yeah.
But this was a specific Arts Commission link, I think they were talking about. Is that right, Andy?
So I just needed
yeah.
clarity, please.
Thank you.
No, no,
I
sure.
don't
Okay.
want, it's your.
It's a good question. It's a good
thing.
question.
If-
Yeah.
So I'll get back to my
No,
seat.
I just want to say one thing. It seems to me what I'm really interested in personally, not spending money, but more like someone checks out the Art Commission website and they see how wonderful Ojai is. You know, I'm very interested in that. So it's not just Art Commission projects, but it's all the galleries, all the music, all the things that there are to do here. I think helps everybody. It helps all the business owners. It helps the city. It helps all the way around, all the things that I'm interested in. So that's my.
Andy, perhaps the answer to this one, in
And-
fact, is to put
The arts.
a hub link on the Arts Commission page.
And that may be the best, if I can add, and I'll work with Commissioner Gilman on this, but one other thing to add as I'm thinking this through is, and cities always need to be cognizant of this, it's not just what we would choose to link to, what we would choose not to link to. We need to be very cautious about creating an equal opportunity
Right.
No, absolutely.
as an agency. So
What
it's
I would
just
like
something
to
that we
do-
would have to
yeah.
have some very standards, established standards, which we could basically takes the discretion out of it.
No, that's fine. What I did this time, this round, was I took the art listings and I just had them on this little monitor over here, and I put them in both places at once, so it was not overly tedious. So even if that became, what we should do, that's okay, that's fine. That's what we'll do.
Okay, well, then we will count on you and Sammy getting together and brainstorming further on this and coming back to the commission. How's that?
Can I say one more thing
Sure,
for
of
15
course.
seconds?
Please.
I've found a bunch of different city art websites, art commission websites, and I found 3 that I really liked. So what I'd like to do is maybe I'll send them to you. You could send them out to everybody, not to engage in an online dialogue, but just say, these are 3 different kinds of commission websites that I think are interesting. Like one might be hugely visual, one we could do pretty easily, things like that. And then we could say, would we like to have it be more like this? I think the answer is going to be
That'd
one
be
of
great.
those for sure.
Yeah,
Thank
that'd be
you.
terrific.
Thank you.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It so needs a
Yeah.
revamp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you. That's
Good
wonderful.
to hear.
no problem.
Andy, thank you. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
taking the lead on this.
No worries.
All right, let us continue. We move on to item C, which is a few items from the Public Art Committee.
All right, so the Public Art Committee, which is Marcy Tasher, myself, and Michael, had a meeting today to consider a request for a waiver from 416 Bryant Circle. Well, this is a business that is going to do some improvement on interior walls and fencing in order to do some manufacturing and distribution. And their public art allocation, they're just barely made it over the $300,000 amount, which is the required amount for the public art ordinance to kick in. And so their public art allocation is a little over $6,000, $6,397.72. Normally, we ask the plaintiff to appear and tell us why they want to give us the money and not do the art, because we really want our private developers to do the art. But in this case, given the location and what the project is, we felt that we could go ahead and recommend to you, the Arts Commission, to send this on to City Council and to recommend to City Council that they grant the waiver for the tenant improvement at 416 Bryant Circle. So, is there a motion?
I move that we recommend to the City Council the acceptance of the proposed waiver for 416 Bryant Circle.
And a second?
I second.
Okay.
Third.
Discussion? Michael, why don't you lead the discussion if there is?
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Okay, beautiful. Next, in your packet, you received the paint box project packet. And that was for the purpose of you offering any edits. But since it went out, we did some edits. And I just want to do a shout out to Luis Gomez, who has just been incredible helping with this. So I want to give everybody a copy of the last and latest edited version. It's a lot prettier than what you see in front of you. The blue is a lot darker and not all fuzzy-wuzzy. Fuzzy-wuzzy was a bear.
Thank you.
And I should talk into the mic. I think it's important to walk through this because we have new members who might not really know what's going on with this. So in order to do that, I also want to pass out a calendar. So there's a calendar, Marcy, why don't you maybe pass that on? And let's start with the calendar. We're on time
Thank you.
so far. We're right now, January 23rd, number 2. We're going to ask you to approve a slate for the public art jury. Marcy will talk about that when I'm done talking about the materials that we want you to approve. We need to approve a budget, and then C and D is what we're talking about now. This is called a request for proposal. The actual document looks like this. Whoops. Back to back. This one's two-sided. And then it has an application on it. So, that's what it looks like. This would, Marcy came up with this title, Paint Box Project, and I needed to put something in there, so that's what I did. I just... This has not been on. I have too many papers in front of me. So let's just walk through this. If you've already had a chance to look at it and you have any edits to make, the City of Ojai Arts Commission announces the Paint Box Project. Ojai Valley artists are invited to submit a proposal to transform selected utility boxes located within the City of Ojai into a work of public art, and so on. This is a limited competition. I'm on the 3rd paragraph. As per the public art ordinance, and we've actually put what part of the ordinance that is that allows us to have a competition limited to the Ojai Valley, because that's important. Applicants must reside in the valley and be 18 years or older. There are 3 available utility box projects. Our applicants may submit a proposal for any or all of the 3 available sites. just break from the reading, and I'll make a side note that I have met with Greg Grant, with James, and with Joe, and gone through this. Joe has made sure that it's legally correct at this point. So just so you know, as you look at this, that it's gone through all those channels already. Okay, so the Libby Bowl boxes, you can see pictures of those down below and where they're located. The Libby Park Playground box and the Ventura Street box are the 4 boxes. The reason these 4 boxes are chosen is because they belong to the city. The other boxes that we showed at previous Arts Commission meetings belong to AT&T, who absolutely refuses to let any artwork go on a box, to Edison, who allows it, but it's a long and painful process to get approval from them, and also Caltrans. Several of the boxes that we want to do belong to Caltrans, and we have to go through a procedure of asking permission. So we thought, since this is our first Arts Commission run Public Art Fund project, that having these boxes, which the city owns, is a great way to start and learn what it feels like to do this ourselves and to have a public art jury and to follow all the stipulations in the public art ordinance. So that's why it's small, and that's why these boxes were chosen. We tell the artists that they have to do a full color rendering. And Joe, did we get a copy of the renderings in the packet?
Yeah, it's in there.
Are they in there?
The boxes, yes.
In your packet, you'll see what that looks
Flats,
like. That
yeah.
was done by a staff member here. Fred did it? Fred Ponce did those drawings. He did a beautiful job on those. And they would be requested, if someone comes to City Hall for this packet, they would request the drawing, and it would be in a larger size than 8.5 by 11. If they want to download it online, we're suggesting that they download it onto a bigger size. Those drawings are an exact drawing of what their proposal is for the box. Greg and I had long discussions about who should clean the boxes and what kind of coating should go on it. So you'll see that referenced by requirements. And we decided the city is going to prep and clean the boxes because we know it'll be done correctly. And then 2 coats of primer that Greg wants to supply that from the city, and it's very expensive. The total cost of these materials is going to be over $1,000 because of the cost of the primer. And then when the project is completed, and that's not the primer that's expensive, it's the anti-graffiti coating at the last stage. The primer is $50 a gallon. The anti-graffiti coating is $200 a gallon. So it's $400 just for that.
Question.
Write your questions down and let me go through, and then, okay? All right, because I'm freezing, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, I touched her and I'm like ice. So when it's completed, it needs to be inspected by Arts Commission member and City Public Works, and the coating goes on right away. And the paints have to be compatible with the coating. That's, a lot of that has coming from Public Works. Selection process. Now, in keeping with the public art ordinance, a public art jury, which will be appointed by the Arts Commission, reviews all the projects and then recommends the projects to us, and we make the final decision. And then to let applicants know how the project, their proposal will be evaluated, their experience, the clarity and workmanship of the proposal template, use of color and design, appropriateness to the location. We want, hopefully, that there'll be some creation of fun, inspiration and beauty, and to capture the unique character of Ojai. Matt Summers, who is the lawyer for the city, looked at and revised the note that you see here. Designs may not include messages, advertising, obscenities, religious art, sexual content, alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, illegal drug-related content, or convey political partnership. So that's the lawyer's note that went in there. It's a little different than the one that we had originally come up
And
with.
I have a serious question about that, so we can come back to it or discuss it
We
now
can come
as you
back to
wish.
that, and I think that Joe would probably be the one to direct your question to on that. The honorarium. Selected artists will receive the following honorariums for materials and as an honorarium. Oh, that's got to be edited. Period after materials. That's what I'm looking for. If you see anything, please tell me.
I have a note about that.
Wait, hang on, I'm almost done.
Okay.
So, for Project A, which when Greg and I and James went over to look at the boxes, we realized that these boxes are bigger than the other two combined, and so we're thinking $2,000. That's one project, those two boxes together. The Libby Park Playground box is tiny, so we're suggesting $800 for that box. The Ventura Street box is a kind of normal size box, and we're suggesting $1,000 for that box. That includes the artist has to buy materials out of that money. So part of it's an honorarium and part of it is for materials. And I've got to change that sentence because that's not clear. Timeline, proposal due date, March 31st at 5 p.m. Winners will be notified the week of April 20th. The project completion date is the last week of May. And then it tells you where to get a packet. So, before we get into the discussion of this, let me just say that when we're done discussing what's written here, we really need to focus our attention on how we're going to get the word out, because this falls on the public art, on the Public Relations Committee and the city to work together to make sure this goes out. And a question I have is, do we still have an artist roster? We used to have an artist roster, and when we had a request for proposal, we would mail it to everyone on that artist roster. And I don't know what happened to it or if we have it anymore. It's a question.
There's a visual artist registry on the website.
All right.
On the website.
I've talked long
I'm not
enough.
sure that it's complete, though.
Let me take your
yeah.
questions.
Okay, Marcy, you had a question first, I believe?
Well, I didn't want to make Randy jump up again to the podium, but I'm sure he's thinking, who's paying for that expensive anti-graffiti coating
We
and
are.
the primer?
We are.
The Arts
That's all
Commission is
taken care of.
paying. Randy? The
It's
Public
coming
Art
out of the
Fund.
the
Public Art Fund.
It's a legitimate expense.
Public Art
Yeah,
Funds.
Yeah,
Okay.
Beat you to the punch.
okay, and Sammy, you had a question or a
It
comment?
was a very minor thing. It's just that the paint box projects, it's on the, will complement,
Page
should
one or
be,
two?
it's page 2, and it should be complement with an E, rather than complement with an I. Right there.
Oh, it's page 1, not page 2.
Oh, that's
This
page-
is page 1.
Oh, because I guess I have it,
You have it backwards.
I have
Yeah, it got
it stapled backwards.
Oh, so
Okay,
sorry.
okay, so yeah, that's fine.
Will
So
complement-
complement with an E, rather than complement with an I.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
It's a good one.
Your rule is I am free.
Compliment, thank you. What'd you say, Andy?
The I in compliment is free, so I am free. Just think that.
Oh, I like it.
Okay,
But
I have
who's
two
up?
questions.
great.
The first one, and I understand that the city attorney looked at this, but designs may not include messages, I think is very limiting to the artist. For example, we talked earlier about the desire to have poetry around town. Would a fragment of poetry be counted as a message, or
Yeah.
would it be a quote from Emily Dickinson, for example?
Right, that's a good
And
question.
I think that's very problematic to include that word.
It appears
So
to be.
I would eliminate that. My second question, and I should have thought of this sooner, Christine, and I apologize, but how do these honoraria compare to honoraria for other public art projects in the past?
We haven't ever done a public art project in the past. So are you talking about for other cities? This is our first public art project.
It's the first one that we've paid for, I know, but there have been public art projects that have been generated by the necessity for people who are building a new project to do public art, and there's
Well,
been
I don't know how to compare it because that's based on a valuation of the project and a 1% for the first million
No, I
or 2%
understand.
for the first million, and that's how that's determined. Maybe I'm not getting your question.
I think, is it how much our artists usually how much compensation do they usually get?
Precisely.
For a utility box, this is based on the research I did of several communities and what they paid our artists. And somewhere between $700 and $1,000
Okay.
is the ongoing rate.
All right.
But we can't, but it's not what we've paid. We've never done it.
No, I know we haven't done it
Okay.
per se, but anyway, you've answered my question. If you've done that sort of research, that
Yeah,
more than
oh,
satisfies.
absolutely. I based it on that.
That
yeah.
makes no problem. And those are my only two comments, and I would urge that we eliminate that one word, messages.
It seems very broad,
Can
overly
Joe,
broad.
can you comment on that,
I
Joe?
agree.
There's no problem with that. We're removing that one word.
You think we can take that off?
Sure,
Okay,
sure,
let's take it
absolutely.
out then.
Thank you.
They all have a message. Everything has a message.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's also
is a
such a
message,
hard
right?
word to define. What does that mean?
It's overly broad.
You know, because you can look at an image and it has a message. It talks to you.
Yeah.
Nigel has a
As I
comment?
read it, it might just be a more grammar
So that'll come
question.
out.
Okay. Nigel, you had a
Yeah,
question?
I agree with what you said, Chair Anderson. The artworks will be evaluated upon experience of the artist. I'm a little unclear on that as to why experience it matters in this case. If something's good, it's good. Is it more of an observation of whether they've got the ability to complete the project, or
I'm sorry. I was being very naughty in writing. Would you say it again?
I shall? Where we're talking about evaluating, it's artworks will be evaluated based upon, and the first one is experience of the artists, and I'm wondering why that matters. If we're looking for a specific type of art or something that appeals to the community, I don't know why experience matters. Unless it's experience to see if
Is there
somebody's got the
a specific
ability.
place on here?
Yes, it's right here.
It's
I'm quoting.
on page 2,
It's
under artworks will
Arts
be
will
evaluated based
Be
upon
evaluated.
experience of the
Yeah,
artist.
so it's actually, mine's stapled in the wrong direction as well as Sammy's. So it's page 1 for me, page 2 for you perhaps. Right underneath selection process, it's got artworks will be evaluated based upon. And then the first one is experience of the artist. I'm just wondering why experience matters. What am I missing?
Oh, this also is based on the research I did with other cities. And for an artist to have had some experience with the kinds of paints to purchase and the kind of technique that is important on something that's painted outdoors. Let's say we get 100 applications, the experience could be a discriminator. Oh, this artist has done a bunch of these. They really know what they're doing, as opposed. So it's a discriminator.
Right, so this is not the experience of how good somebody is or what previous experience they've had in the art. It's in the medium of the art.
Yes.
And their
Yes.
ability to complete
Yes.
the project.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Does that help? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's confusing to me.
Maybe we should make that language clearer.
Okay.
then. Yeah.
So experience with
With
And
the
then we need-
medium of, yeah.
well, we don't want to
In
make
the
it specifically
field.
utility
No, but
box,
what you said to me makes sense. This didn't make sense to me, simply because
Yeah,
you could have a
okay,
high
so
school kid
clarify
who
that.
does a fantastic
All right,
design.
I'm going to ask Sammy to help me clarify that.
She's good with words, is Sammy.
Thank
Okay.
you. That-
Think
That's a
some
great
words.
suggestion. Okay.
All right.
Anybody else on there? All right, so then what we would like you to do is to approve this with the corrections so that we don't have to wait a whole month to come back and show you we made them. We promise we'll make them.
Right.
And
Okay,
so
then we're
that-
open for a motion to approve the paint box project.
So moved.
Language as it will be amended. Is there a second?
I second. Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Done. Okay, let's move on now to the public art jury, and I think Marcy, this is
Marcy's going to take
your-
over for that.
bailiwick. Here you are.
And you might want to talk about the process that we used to get, because we have new people. I have one, thank you.
Okay. So, I believe it was the last meeting that we had last year where the Arts Commission, everyone supplied we kicked around different names to recommend to see if they would be interested in serving on our public art jury if they were available at the beginning of April, when we will most likely convene the public art jury to select our artists for these boxes. And so the artists were, the prospective jurors were contacted, and some were not. Some didn't respond, some I couldn't locate, but of the responses that I got, and very positive, enthusiastic responses, I was able to compose a roster for a jury that I'm very, very excited about. So what I've got, it's on the paper in front of you. We're required to have, per the ordinance, 2 members of the community at large, and Jamie Fleming is very excited about serving on this jury, and I think he would be excellent. And then Wendy Barker from the museum is also incredibly interested. We are required to select 2 public art experts, and Cynthia Wyrick has extensive public art experience based on things that she did in Louisiana. She's very well-versed in public art, acquiring public art, vetting public art. Art's her thing. And then also a former member of the Arts Commission and an incredible public art expert, Barbara Hirsch, has agreed to be on it. We originally recommended her as an alternate, and she said to me, "What? I'm just an alternate? I want the real gig." Okay. And then we needed to select an artist, and Richard Amond is very excited about serving on the jury. So he is the artist that I would recommend. One member of the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission met and they selected Kathy Nolan to serve on the jury. And then, if you all agree, I would be the liaison, the Arts Commission representative on the jury. We have 3 alternates in case anyone else can't serve for whatever reason. We have Linda Taylor, Lisa Cassoni, and Susan Amend.
Terrific.
So that's the jury, and I think it's a very
It's
strong.
A+.
Sounds
It
wonderful.
really is.
Yeah, really beautiful. Yes.
Well, Marcy is the one who
Well,
drove this forward.
We kicked it
We
around.
kicked it around, but it's a terrific slate, really first rate.
It's great.
I have to say, I couldn't be happier. than-
So I move that we accept this as the panel for the public
Second.
art jury. Discussion?
And I thank you all because you
Give names.
you suggested the names originally, so.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Done. Excellent, Marcy.
Fabulous. We are
Excellent.
moving along on this. It's just so exciting. The next part is the budget, and it says here to approve $5,000, but I'm going to ask you all to consider whether or not it would be wise for me to increase this, and I'll tell you why. The boxes, the honorariums, total $3,800, so that's for sure. Then there are printing costs, which that's a huge question mark because, again, I want to talk about what we're going to do for PR to get the word out, because this is only as successful as we get a lot of artists applying. So do we want to run off this and make sure that it goes to an OSA meeting and make sure that it is left in galleries around town and make sure, and that's going to cost some money, would take, because we do have a budget for printing here, and that budget will be used for printing the ones that can be picked up here at City Hall. But the ones that get distributed around town, I'm assuming we're going to have to use public art fund money, which we are allowed to do. This is a legitimate expenditure, and take them over to OBC or someplace like that and get them printed out. So
what would you recommend?
hang on, I'm not done. So $1,000 is going to be the amount of the cost of the paint that is coming from the city. So that takes us up to $4,800 and only leaves $200 for printing costs. So I would like you to give another $1,000 for unanticipated expenditures like taxes and things like that on the paint from city, and for what we don't know what the printing costs will be. So I would like to move that to be not $5,000, but $6,000. We have more than enough money to cover that extra $1,000.
Well, I would move that we approve that additional amount of money as a contingency amount as needed at the direction of the chair of the
absolutely.
Public Art Commission. It does not have to be spent, but it's a contingency amount.
Oh, we won't, we'll try to keep under that amount.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
So
All
we're
in favor?
approving 6,000?
Yes, we are.
All right.
All in
Let's make sure the
favor?
motion comes out that
Aye.
way.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, 6,000 it is. All right.
All right, so I'm not done.
We have two more items, public art
Well,
brochure.
but
and
I'm not really done. I really want to talk, because this is so important. And I think that if we can brainstorm where and how do we want to get the word out about this.
Well, I'd
Put
like
it
to
up
see-
on the hub, put it up on the website. I'm going to go to that OSA meeting, but are you two okay with just brainstorming on your own, all the different?
I think
And you're
we
going to
can
really like blanket this town and work with these guys, make sure the PDF goes up? And I would just please ask you to refer to the calendar here,
Okay.
because it all fits in like a hand in glove with when the
Okay.
public art jury meets, when the
I think the point is well taken. All
Okay.
right, so we can move on then to the public art brochure.
Public art brochure. All right, let me put this aside, please. Okay, public art brochure. Oops, that's pink box jury. I'm just so excited about the brochure. The cover art by Colleen McDougall came in a couple of days ago, and this is a very large version of it. And I only had one printed out because it's expensive to print something out with that kind of color. But this is our Matilaha Poppy Fountain. That's Colleen McDougall's artwork on that. And this is the cover. The brochure is folded into three, so it's not this big, but this is the cover of the brochure. And then the inside pages that one opens up to of the downtown walking tour. I'm going to send this around so you can kind of get the idea. This is a little smaller font than it will actually be. But what I want you to really look at is the map that Colleen did. So this is just a looky-see, to take a look at the map and see how gorgeous that is. And I'm going to be meeting with Carlos again. The ad hoc committee met, gave me edits for the brochure, all the different pages of the brochure. We made some changes. And next week, I'm going to be meeting again with Carlos, and we hope to wrap it up next week. And then it goes to the printers. And we already have a budget for this, so it'll get printed and distributed by Jamie Fleming, who volunteered when he saw what we were doing. He volunteered to distribute it around town for us. And it's happened. It's like we're almost done with this. It's really,
Great.
really exciting.
It's great.
Yeah,
Thanks to you, Christine.
It's going to be very handsome, very handsome.
yeah. So, and then there's
Okay.
one last thing on there. What is it?
Mural ordinance. Where do we stand on that?
The mural ordinance is waiting for a second round of edits by Matt Summers that then come back to Joe and myself, and probably James will sit in on that because he was in on that in the very beginning, and we made the first round together. What we voted on happening way back, because this has gone on now for some months, was that what the lawyer requires in terms of it being languaged in ordinance language, it doesn't have to come back here unless we change something substantially. So I think at this point, when the city is ready, we're in no big hurry on this. So when city is ready, it's going to go to city council. I hope I'll know when that is, and I'll go to that meeting in case they have any questions about it. And hopefully that they'll adopt it, and it will be in place for any future commercial murals in downtown Ojai, that they would come before us and make sure that they're using the right kind of paints and blah, 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 blah.
Good, so that's in the works.
It works.
All right, outstanding.
Slow going, but in
It's
the
all right,
works.
it's happening.
It's happening.
All right.
at the zoo.
Good stuff, good stuff, good
That's it.
stuff. Let's move on. That's all super positive. Congratulations, Christine. It's
Thank you.
terrific.
Well done, Christine. Yeah.
Okay, City Gallery Committee, Ms. Tosher, if you would, please.
Well, tonight we had a reception for Nancy Horwick. Her show is up until, I think it was a very successful show, and I think it's a beautiful show. And I would encourage everyone to come down during normal City Hall hours and walk the halls and admire the work, and it's all for sale. Her show will be up until March 14th. March 14th, I'm really excited about the next show to come in. It will be the beautiful black and white photography of Deborah Lyon, nature photography, and then Andrea Hafner. It's going to be a joint show. Andrea Hafner will display with Deborah Lyon her very unique three-dimensional art based on little findings that she finds on her hikes and just little bits of nature. And she builds frames for it and then does layers and layers of resin, and these little pieces of nature are encapsulated in this resin, which brings out all of the incredible detail that you would never notice but for her composition. So that's a joint show, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think you'll all love it. After that, May 6th, and they're up until May 16th, the OSA Scholarship Show is coming in, and that comes down June 20th. Then I've got an artist does abstract expressionistic work, Mary Neville, very beautiful, kind of pastel-y, very subtle, really yummy paintings, and she will be up until August, I'm trying to read this on the August 29th. After that, our City of Ojai, the Mentor Show, will be up through October 10th. And after our last final show of the year, I'm really excited. We've never done a show like this. Carol Shaw Sutton does fiber art, and her pieces have been featured in museums and really like world caliber fiber artworks, really incredible. It's not your average macrame. It's not macrame.
It's extraordinary.
It's incredible, and they're. I'm almost a little nervous about. I mean, they're valuable pieces of art, but I promised her that we would take care of it, and so I'm really excited about this roster of artists for this year.
What
great.
is the date? What are the dates for Carol
I'll
Shaw's?
forward this to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can you
And
send
a
it to
few-
me too, please?
Yes, and a few of them are subject to a minor tweaking. Now, we usually coordinate with the museum, but the museum has some requirements, especially when their OSA show goes up, because now they have 80 members or whatever, and they want to display all of them in the museum. So the walls that are usually reserved for City Gallery, she needs them for the OSA artists. So at some point, I want to talk to you all about, I know that we contribute every year, part of our Arts Commission budget, we contribute towards the museum. And if a good 3 or 4 months of the year, we can't even display in the museum, I think we might want to revisit that.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could work something else out with the museum, but I know that we're getting bumped for some other, to fit their schedule.
So for the time being, our shows go up, sort of like in the visitors center when you go right. And you
In the
enter, and
museum,
there's
when you walk in the main
big
door,
panels.
you walk right in the main doors, and there's usually there are 4 walls that we get. Right, Nancy Horwick has 4 big pieces up there right now. It's
Yeah.
really great. And Andrea and Deborah are going to have the walls too. We run into the problem a little bit with Mary Neville and Carol Shaw Sutton will get a little shortchanged, but Wendy thinks it's okay because they're also OSA artists, so they will have a representation of their work up in the museum. Anyway, it just won't be in the dedicated City Gallery space, joint City Gallery, Ojai Valley Museum space. So that's what's going on. I'll forward these to you guys right now.
I just was
Okay.
going to request, as soon as there's any imagery or anything, we'll place everything there, as I mentioned.
Visuals,
over
yeah.
email.
Fabulous,
Cool.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Marcy. Good, rich prospects. Okay, we move on now to informational items, future agenda items. Obviously, we generated some material this evening in our earlier discussion, so that will get folded into future agenda items. I would remind any of you that if there is something you would like on the agenda, the conduit is to Joe, who is our staff representative, and then he circulates it to the chair of the commission, and it gets edited or changed or not, but that's the process. And Joe, I guess we turn to you now for report on projects subject to public art requirements.
Sure. Before I hit that, I'd like to just mention on future agenda items, I'll be bringing an item from the Capri Hotel. Would like to change out some of their artwork, so I have to schedule a meeting with the CAPA, the Committee to Approve Public Art. And once that committee makes a recommendation, that I would bring that back to the commission, hopefully in at their February 20th meeting for approval, or not, however they decide. And then the other item, as Commissioner Golden mentioned, would be the mural ordinance. Should be done by February 20th. If not, it would probably come back in March.
Good.
So that's the future agenda items. The reports on projects subject to public art requirements. The commission has the monthly report. The new one on that is the one which was approved to pay today, the 416 Bryant Circle, which will be adding those funds to the public art fund. And the only other update is really not an update. The Olive Mill project, 601 Pearl, has not moved forward, so those funds have not been collected as of yet. If there's any questions on that,
Are you going to pass out that public art fund?
on C, the next one.
It's in the
We're
packet.
we're on B. So with that, I'll move on to C.
Okay, please do.
We've, there were a few errors on the report on public art fund. I've updated that. Commissioner Golden and I have updated that.
So the one in your packet is not correct.
Take it out.
Okay.
Just rip it up. It's wrong. But Joe and I got it all straight.
We need one more.
Oh, the
You-
new guy.
you
The
want
new
one?
guy doesn't get one.
Yeah, you do. There. It's all right. We're cool.
We're cool?
We'll share this one.
Okay.
So,
Okay, joint meeting?
I just wanted to point out a couple changes on the public art fund
Okay.
report. We've added a new column for notes to add some clarity to some of these issues and just to help set reminders. Also, the two fees which were collected, the two waiver fees which were collected in December on the spa building and the central services building at the spa. Those were moved from debits to credits because those have actually been paid. The commission has essentially at its disposal today about $78,000
Okay.
for public art.
And I would ask you, Joe, that you might want to correct Carlos's last name is Grasso.
GRASSO, correct.
SSO, as
Okay.
opposed to Gross.
Correct.
And the archival photo contract, that's the contract we have with Roger, and I'm pretty sure he has encumbered some of that money already. And we're pretty sure, in fact, I know for a fact that Carlos has encumbered $200 of that amount. So the totals are
Minusculely different.
minuscule,
Yeah.
$1,200 we're talking
Right.
about. But we want to confirm it.
We will,
Yeah.
yes.
It's in good order now.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, Joe.
commissioner reports and comments. We'll work our way around the table. Nigel, any comments? Okay. Marcy, how about you?
I think we spoke a lot tonight.
Okay.
Got a lot done.
Christine?
Yeah, I'm gonna beat this a little bit with the two of you, but I just wanna make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'm going to send to Joe the final version of what you two are gonna need. So you're gonna get that from Joe.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so until you get that, you won't okay, does that work?
Don't
That make
move.
sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Just wanna have a procedure that we all agree on.
Sure.
Sammy, any comments?
Nothing to report, nothing to comment.
Okay. And Andy, how about you?
As with Nigel, nothing that I didn't say earlier.
All right. Well, then we will call upon Mr. Haney, if you would, please.
So first of all, Andy, Nigel, welcome to the artistic group of this community. You are in good hands. You are on a good commission. In fact, a stellar commission. One of the ones that I, as a, whatever I am, enjoys coming to, and I get a lot of information I don't always get. You guys will be privileged to a lot of information that we don't get, and then you get to digest it, and you get to make it work. So, most of what you're doing will come to us in a different manner. It'll either be a discussion item or a consent item. So at that time, we'll have more time to get more information. So the questions I have are just things that I think about as I'm sitting over there. Nigel, I thought your conceptual idea of music enhancement into the valley, I know the chamber is looking at that deeply to try and enhance business from Monday through Thursday in this community. So I think something like that would go hand in hand with what they're doing. So I'm sure that's something you'll be working with Jamie with, as a joint venture when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, and the music
Just-
festival too. It should
Yeah.
be all
So,
hands on
yeah, and the
deck.
music festival, I'm not sure on, because I think that's something that really needs to be vetted, really needs to have a thorough thought process placed out into the public domain as well as through here,
I would agree with that.
yeah. Signage on Gold Coast Transit, stop signs or seating, that's who I would contact, Gold Coast,
Okay.
and see if they'll allow you to do anything,
Can you say that one more time?
okay?
Oh,
Gold
just
Coast
go across it.
Transit
Yes, okay, got it. Right,
Agency.
thank you.
I'll help you out on that. I sit on their board, so I'll ask them what information they have, and I'll try and pass it on to either at the next meeting or to Michael before that.
Wonderful, thank you.
I think the mural ordinance, again, we'll look at it as you approved funding the mural for the school, yet you haven't completed a mural ordinance. I don't know if you're putting one ahead of the other because of some reason that you feel compelled that that has to be done sooner than later. My personal take on it is you can't approve an expenditure without your ordinance guidelines directing you how to and when to and what to. So I think you're in
Comment on it?
well, when I'm done. So I think you're in conflict there, but you're a commission and you've decided what you're gonna do. Again, I'm just making comments from what I heard out there. So, that would be my concern with that. The waiver on public art, when you send it to us, it'll more likely be in a consent. I sure would like to see some justification. Okay? So it's gotta be something in writing as to why you waived. So that's all I would look for. And then your art project, I'm this way on it, and the only reason I'm this way on it is I just think of anything in the public domain is open to graffiti, vandalism, and all other types of bad things. So my concern is gonna be where it's hung, how it's hung, who's gonna maintain it. If it's my art, and it gets vandalized, do I have to replace it? So those are the things that I was thinking about.
For which project?
For your,
Utility
The
box?
paint box?
The utility
Yeah, your
box?
Or the
paint boxes.
mural?
Let me address it when you.
so,
Okay.
I'm just saying, those were my concerns, they're gonna be out in the public domain. And like anything else, it's gonna be susceptible to vandalism. no matter what level or kind. And so those are my concerns, is who owns it, who's accountable for it, if it gets vandalized, who's going to repair it, you know, I'm going to imagine that because it's yours, that you're going to be paying for all of that.
That's right.
That's how I would look at that. So, I think it's a great idea. I think you might have done some mock-ups even out of cardboard to show the sizes
We did.
of what these would look like. And you did that at a previous, commission meeting? Okay, because again,
Can I comment then on a couple things?
yeah, when I'm done.
Oh,
Okay.
you're not done? Oh,
No,
I
I'm not
thought
done.
your little
No.
sheet of paper looked like you were done.
I have 1, 2, 3, and I think I had one more
It's got
here.
more paper.
One more. Well, if I'm here, I need to listen. And then the last thing that you were talking about as far as, you know, what took place here tonight. Did we notify the Ojai Valley News? Because I didn't see a reporter here. I didn't see anyone taking pictures here. And so my concern is that either they're not paying attention to the importance of what you're doing and the importance of this art in our community. And maybe we need to figure out how to up that level of control. But I would have thought that that'd been a primary.
That's a good point. That's a good
person.
point. Well, they did run a very lovely article that Sammy wrote in the OVN, but yeah, maybe a reminder or
And then
to send someone to cover it, yeah.
And then the other thing is, it's interesting, is most of the art that you see here, you don't see unless you come here. So again, that's why Andy's, in your concept on this website, I'm for it, because what it would do is actually show these pictures and say, come down to City Hall and actually see them and touch them, you know, with your heart and your mind and soul, and really experience them. So, again, it's how we get that message out.
Yeah.
So,
Good point.
now,
Very good
that's all I
point,
had.
yeah.
I'm open for anything you'd like to engage with.
I did want to assure you that all of the requirements that are in the mural ordinance were met through the grant application process by the person who submitted the mural request. They covered everything that we asked them to cover in the mural ordinance, just so you know that.
Okay.
And as far as the boxes go, one of the reasons cities do paint box projects is because it actually deters graffiti from happening, and that's been verified over and over and over again throughout communities that adopt paint a utility box, that it helps with graffiti. Some of these boxes are tagged.
Well, I look at
Right
it
now,
when I
as we
look,
speak.
yeah, when I look at vandalism, graffiti is just one aspect of it.
So but I thought that would be interesting for you
Right.
to know that. I didn't know that until I started to
And how many
research.
cities have these,
Oh, gosh,
Oh,
so
geez.
many.
really?
All over the country.
Ventura,
Yeah.
Glendale. I can't tell you how many websites I went on.
Sherman Oaks.
Santa Cruz.
But they're
Oaks,
all over,
definitely,
and
yeah.
they do it to defer the graffiti, so,
Okay.
which was learning for me.
Yeah, well, that's part of the education for me too, so I appreciate that.
And there will be a anti-graffiti coating on the
Yeah,
boxes.
I heard that.
Okay,
I heard the cost of
we're paying.
that. Okay, well, thank you for all you do.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank
That's
you.
great, thank you, Randy. It's so good to be.
And Joe, if you'll turn off the TV now, please.
Oh, you didn't adjourn?
I'm going to adjourn right now. The meeting is adjourned. We are completed and done. And I've asked Joe to turn off